Well, hello. Well, we're going to be continuing what we did last night with solving equations, part 1, where all of the equations that we were solving were addition and subtraction equations. So we solved addition equations by subtracting, and we solved subtraction equations by adding. What we're going to be doing instead today is we're going to be talking about multiplication and division equations. And so lesson 2.7, we'll call this solving equations part 2. And I have a guest teacher here with me today. Want to introduce yourself?
Hi guys, it's Hiba.
Awesome. All right, let's get started. All right, so again, we're solving equations. Solving equations with multiplication and division, and there's an example of one. Now, I underlined with for two special reasons. The equations that we're solving tonight are going to start with either a multiplication or a division in them, and the way we're going to solve them is with multiplying or dividing. So just like yesterday. Multiplication and division are kind of opposites of each other. So if an equation has multiplication, guess what we're going to do to solve it? We're going to use
PEMDAS.
No, not PEMDAS. Goof. You're fired. No, seriously. If we're doing multiplication, the opposite of multiplying is
division.
Division. And if we're dividing, the opposite of dividing is multiplying. So the initial equation we start with is going to have multiplication division, and what we're going to do to solve it is also going to be multiplication division. That's it. Pretty cool, huh? All right, so here we go. So here's the idea. So if I start out with an equation like 4n equals 68, all right, what's happening right now between the 4 and the n, Hiba?
You have to multiply them.
Right, that's multiplying. So how do I get rid of multiplication? What's the opposite of multiplying?
Dividing.
There you go. See, nothing to it, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to divide both sides by 4. Whoa, that went a little faster than I wanted it to do. Pause. Okay, so go back to the red divide by 4. So I had 4 times h, and I wanted to get rid of the 4. Well, like Hiba just said, you're multiplying by 4, so how do you get rid of it? You divide by 4. So the red 4 comes first. Now, if I do it on the left side, does it stay balanced if I don't do something on the right side?
No, it doesn't.
No, so I've got to do it the same thing on both sides. So if I divide the left by 4, then what do I got to do on the right?
You have to divide it by 4.
That's right. And so h, so we take 68 divided by 4, and sure enough, we get 17. By the way, if the arithmetic is bugging you, and you don't want to do 68 divided by 4 in your head, you can always come down here and do the little division problem. So little does McDonald's sell cheeseburgers? Here we go, we'll do that in yellow, maybe. Does McDonald's sell cheeseburgers? Divide, multiply, subtract, check, and bring down. And sure enough, okay, so that's how we solve a multiplication problem, by dividing. All right, so now let's go ahead and let's try a division problem. All right, now I don't like, this is the way the division problems are going to look in the book. They'll be written out like this: y divided by 6.4 equals 8. Okay, what I'd rather you do is write it out using a fraction division. It'll help us show our work a little bit easier. So what we're going to do here is we're going to write as y over 6.4 y over 6.4 is equal to 8. And again, to get y by itself, right now, what am I doing with the y? I'm dividing it
by 6.4.
So the opposite of dividing by 6.4 is to?
Multiply.
By 6.4. Exactly. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to multiply on the left by 6.4. And of course, if I do that, I've got to multiply on the right by 6.4. So again, the red is what we do first. We multiply the left side by 6.4. But in order to keep the balance, we have to multiply the right by 6.4. Now, 6.4 times 8, you probably can't do in your head. So we're going to do a little side problem down here. So 6.4 times 8, I'm going to do this in Cherry Bomb. And 8 times 4 is 32, carry the 3. And 8 times 6 is 48, plus 3 is 51. There's the problem right down in the bottom right of the screen. And honestly, when you're multiplying a number times a single digit, I would just do Cherry Bomb because it's probably not worth writing out a whole lattice to do it. But you can write out lattice if you want. So we get 512. However, there is a decimal there, 6.4. So we got to move the decimal over 1. So it's actually 51.2. We'll copy that in. And we can go ahead and we can estimate and see that, yeah, that's about what we'd expect. 51.2 is pretty close to 48. And 6.4 is pretty close to 6. And 48 divided by 6 would be 8. So that's in the ballpark. And if I want to check it specifically, let's go ahead and show the check. I could go ahead and take 51.2, divide it by 6.4, do does McDonald's sell cheeseburgers, move the decimals, the whole 9 yards, and sure enough, it goes in exactly 8 times. All right, I know that was a little bit confusing, but here's what you really need to get out of this. If you have a multiplication equation, you solve it by doing what to both sides?
Multiplying. Wait,
If we start with a multiplication equation, we're going to solve both sides by dividing, right?
Yeah.
And if we have a dividing equation, we're going to solve both sides by
multiplying.
That's it. That's the idea of opposites. And if I do it to one side, I have to do it to the other.
Yeah.
So as confusing as that all probably looks right now, the idea is really not that bad. So let's go ahead and practice. So here's what we're going to do. Let's go ahead and let's look at these 3 problems. And whoa!
What is going on?
I'm telling you. All right, let's back up a little bit. All right, take these 3 problems, okay, and go ahead and pause the video. And Hib and I we're going to sit here and wait for you. And I'd like you to write down these 3 equations. They're all multiplication equations. So what should people be thinking? What are they going to do to solve these?
Divide.
Divide. So you're going to divide all these equations by whatever's with the variable. Show your work, circle your answers, and then come back and see if you get the same thing that we get. So we'll see you in just a second. Okay? Pause the video now. Okay, well, welcome back. Let's see how they did.
Back.
All right, let's do these and see how they did. All right, so the first one, 9x divided by 36. What should they do to both sides, Hiba?
They need to divide.
Both sides by?
9.
9. So we'll divide both sides by 9. We'll cross out the 9s on the left. Okay, and sure enough, we'll get x on the left, and on the right, 36 divided by 9 will give us 4. All right, and sure enough, that checks because 9 times 4
is
36. All right, the next one is a little harder. Let's see. Let's take a look at it. Okay, so the second equation, we have 10y equals 27. So we're going to divide both sides by 10. And what 27 divided by 10 is basically, remember we did that lesson where we just moved the decimals around? So it's just going to move the decimal 1 to the left. So I'm going to get 2.7. And sure enough, 10 times 2.7 will equal 27. The last one, I'm going to divide by a 0.8 on the left and the right. And that's going to leave me with a little bit of a problem here. So let's go ahead and do the decimal division here. Again, good review of 1/9 does McDonald's sell cheeseburgers, long division. So we're going to divide 32 by 0.8. And of course, at this point, everybody should remember you're not allowed to divide by decimal.
Yeah.
So what you've got to do is you've got to move the decimal 1 to the right in 0.8, like that. And you do the same thing on 32 and put in an extra 0. All right, I'm just going to let the division play out here. So we get the first step, we get 4, we get 32, we get no remainder, but we can't stop because we've got to bring down the 0, and we still have to ask ourselves how many times does 8 go into 0, which of course is 0, and we get 40, and that's the right answer. Again, remember the 2 principal important ideas here are opposites and balance. Okay, without opposites and balance, none of this works. And really, if we think about opposites and balance, what we're doing tonight is exactly what we did last night, except this time the opposite of multiplication is division, and the opposite of division is multiplication. The opposite of addition from last night was
subtraction,
and the opposite of subtraction is
addition.
There we go. That's the idea.
Yeah.
Good. All right. So let's take a look at 3 more problems. Now these problems are all going to be division problems. So we're going to start by rewriting the problem. So n divided by 5 equals 40. We're going to write it as n over 5 equals 40. And let's go across the top row, and let's rewrite all of the problems. So the next one we're going to rewrite as w over 1.5 is equal to 10. Let me make that decimal a little bit darker. There we go. Okay, that kind of looks darker. And then the last one is going to be z divided by 2, we'll write it as a fraction, equals 7.9. And again, what we'd like you to do is pause the video, and just like you did with the 3 multiplication problems, we want you to solve these 3 division problems. Now remember from the first slide, you can go back and review that if you want, the way we undo division is with multiplication. And I'm going to give you a little sneak peek here. You're going to multiply on both sides. So I wanted that to be red. You're going to put parentheses around both sides of the equation so that you can multiply, and you're going to multiply it, for the first one, you're going to multiply both sides by what?
5.
Right, because you want to get rid of dividing by 5. So go ahead and pause the video, finish these 3 problems, and then rejoin us. We'll see you in just a minute.
Okay, hi guys, welcome back. So I'm going to tell you what to do and see if you got the answers right or wrong. Okay, so what we have to do is we have to find out what n is. So we're going to multiply 40 times 5. And then we're going to do 5 times 5.
Yeah, well, actually, we're going to multiply on the left side. We're going to multiply, since we're dividing by 5, we multiply by 5. We actually do that one first, and then we also have to do it on the right, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so on the left, this is cool. Look what happened.
Cancel out.
Yeah, and you just get n. And on the right,
we do 200.
you get, 40 times 5 is 200.
It's 200, yeah.
Good job. And you check it, and 200 divided by 5 is 40, so we put a little check in there.
Yeah.
All right, what about the next one?
Okay, so you have to do 1.5 times 1.5.
Yep, so actually it's W divided by 1.5 and multiplied by 1.5.
Yeah.
That's the trick, because that cancels. And what do
then
I do over here?
1.5 times 10.
All right, on the left side, let's do the easy side first. These guys just cancel.
Yeah, and then we do 1.5 times 10, which equals to 15. Yeah,
equals just 15 because we just moved the decimal one to the right. And then let's switch back to green. It'll look like a big stoplight. The last one, we're a little bit out of room here. Why don't I rewrite this for you? That's not green. Let's rewrite this. This is z divided by 2 equals 7.9. All right, what do we do on both sides?
So we're going to divide and multiply, but we're going to multiply 2 times 2 and divide z by 2, and then 7.9 times 2.
Right, okay, so because you're dividing z by 2, we're going to multiply by 2 on this side. We also have to multiply by 2 on the right. These will cancel out, and we'll get z. All right, so we get z on the left, and on the right, we're going to get 15.8. So double check your math, and that's what you should get. All right, so before we take off, so remember the main ideas of this lesson.
And remember,
which are?
Opposites and balance.
And in this case, opposites, instead of multiplication, what's the opposite of multiplying?
Dividing.
Dividing, and what's the opposite of dividing?
Multiplying.
Multiplying. And balance, just like before, it applies to both sides. So this is Mr. Gunn and
Hiba
signing off and thanking you for watching our video.
Bye.
Good night.